What's up?
Go, you lead.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna let you lead.
Okay. Okay. I remember, dude. Do you remember when we first met? I highly doubt it because micers show up, and when we first show up, like it's a haze. But it's been a little over a year. Do you remember that?
No, but I remember you coming to Taylor Street from roughly about a year out.
You were hands down my favorite mic for like.
And then it's ended, and then that changed.
Well, that's just because I'm far now. And
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, no, it is out of the way.
Yeah. If I had a car, I would definitely come down there. When did you? So Taylor Street was one of the first mics to start up post-pandemic or mid-pandemic.
Yeah. We were definitely a mid-pandemic mic. We were definitely let's do this when you're not supposed to do this.
Fucking
mics.
punk rock, man.
Oh, 100%. So yeah, we Jeff and I got it. So I'll just tell the story real quick.
Yeah.
Great bartender, Becca Hersick. She ended up being the GM at Taylor Street. She had worked with Rodescu, some bar. She offered him an open mic. He had trigger warning on Mondays. He passed on it. He was like, anyone else want to host? I think a bunch of people reached out, and he was like, all right, Jeff and Donovan, you guys host together. And we knew each other. Like, Jeff had been in the city 6 months. He wasn't the star destined to rise necessarily. Like, he was like 6 months into Chicago level comedy at that point. And no one really knew who I was. I was basically only a year and a half in. And then it was just
comedy in general?
To every night comedy, yeah. To doing it like every night, basically, yeah. And then, and he was probably, like a year in. We were probably both within a year and a half in. And it was just an open mic and a shitty bar showcase. And then it was still it was like a, it's what it was, but no one was really, no return bar people yet. We did that for a few months. COVID hit. We did it the night before everything shut down for COVID, like when no one else was supposed to do shit. Everyone was doing shit that whole week leading up to things when I was like, man, you're going out St. Patty's Day weekend when this stuff is all blowing up. But we did like one last night. Jeff didn't actually do it. I can't throw him under the bus, but I was like, fuck it, I'm doing it. Then we did it during COVID, and then they shut down again. And then they opened, and we shut. So, yeah. But then, May 2021, we opened for good.
You're very, very resilient you are, sir.
Yeah, I was realizing I could have like made that an hour story, and I was like, all right, I got to sum this up.
I mean, hey, we got time. And I know you also did the truck show?
Yeah, the comedy pickup, yeah.
That was the one that almost feels legendary at a certain point.
It was fun, man, and a lot of people did it. Did you ever get a chance to do it?
No, I got here, a little before August of 2021, I think.
Okay, perfect, yeah. So, we did it. 2020, we did all as an open mic. We started as an open mic. We didn't know if anyone was going to show up. That was the shutdown in the summer, which was like mid-July. They were like, all right, we're shutting down again. Ryder showed up. I don't remember Ryder from before, maybe like 1 week before this. And I was like, oh, he was at the mic last week. So I made a joke about him. Like, I was like, this guy's a drug addict, which he's not. And I was throwing him under the bus, but I was saying that. And then, but I was getting him to smoke me out. I was like, I know this guy's got weed on him. And he smoked me out, and he takes me to his pickup. I'm like, oh, we could do a show on this truck. And 2 weeks later, he agreed to do one every night of a week. Like, we just do it for a week, see how it goes. And it was the only thing going on. So, 20 comics would show up 20 comics at least would show up every night. And then we just kept it going from there.
What was it like? Wait, where did you guys park? Did you move the truck around?
Yeah, we did it basically, we came to a few locations several times, but we did over 50 locations all across the city.
That's wild.
I had ambitious goals of doing one in every neighborhood, and and that got scrapped and things like that. But
what was that like? Because I know when you perform outside, it almost feels like the laughs dissipate into the air before you can even hear them. And
100%, you have to look on the eyes. It's luckily, it's very. There were a handful of times where it was right, and even the first one ended up being right, because what ended up happening is, especially that first summer, people would stop and then sit, so it would accumulate the shows. So even the first one, which was just an open mic, we didn't know if anyone would show up. Then 20 comics show up. We realized, all right, pick small confined places, so it'd be places where it's you couldn't really sit more than 70. We'd want to find ideal spaces where 70 people could sit here comfortably, but 100 people would be uncomfortable. So that way it feels more crowded. And we would get over 100 people a few times, but we'd regularly get 50 plus.
Yeah, I remember not when the shutdown first happened, it felt surreal. The toilet paper and the
absolutely around. For me too, right?
Yeah, it was really crazy. But then as we got, I always call this period Tiger King period. Mm-hmm. Like right before George Floyd, that Tiger King period where no one's driving. Yeah. The C2 emissions are apparently lower.
Yeah, the dolphins are back.
Yeah. There's starfish now. It's like crazy. And I remember this weird, deep appreciation for live performance at that point because we were all bored.
No, 100%. So the same boat here. I remember that grocery shopping because there was like rumors that they were going to announce like a full shutdown, and every adult was like out grocery shopping late at night, and no one looked scared, everyone looked scared in the eyes, but no one was like, every adult was like not panicking, and it was like a weird psychological experience. But we're all definitely panicking inside, but we're all just trying to keep these poker faces up, and it was very bizarre.
So in my neck of the woods, people were clearly panicking. Mm-hmm. Like that poker face, and this is what I love and respect about the Midwest. Mm-hmm. You guys are more resilient, like hands down. I think because of the winter, because of snow and shit.
Yeah, no, yeah.
You guys, there's a Midwestern, not toughness. It's like a mixture of toughness and hospitality that out over on the West Coast, especially in like the desert feels like. You've watched those old westerns where everyone's got guns.
Everyone's
on their
there
hips.
for themselves, kind of thing.
It felt like that. I walked into the grocery store during that time, and it's nothing but old bald white dudes with guns on their shirts, and everyone's running around, and people are yelling about masks. It was real wild.
Yeah, that is nuts. And the thing is, like, it's like no one was speaking. It was a lot of like single men like myself, but like from all there was like clearly like. I was like well-to-do looking guys, and it was like, I just remember us pushing our carts around silently and just like, and this was even before the toilet. This was like March. This was like before the toilet paper freak out. But but then a month later, all my toilet paper was on the shelves were gone, and it was like, and it was a thing of like, dude, they're gonna have toilet paper in a month again. It's like this is, it's like it might be a month, but they'll get it in a month.
Oh, you had hope.
Oh, all right. With that stuff, with the toilet paper, I wasn't too worried. You need like a microchip. Maybe that's a problem, but toilet paper, you're good.
That it's changed me. I got a portable bidet now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never. I want to try one. I can't be a guest on. I don't want to use someone else's.
We don't want to bring the camera in and go old school, real. No? Okay.
My mom had one, and I felt the same way. I was like, I'm not gonna use my mom's bidet.
It feels kind of dirty.
It just feels weird to know the only main user of this bidet.
That's fair. So what was your living situation like during that?
I've been in the same apartment for 7 years, and I was living with Rory, who was an open mic comic who I was co-hosting.
Rory Rush?
No, Rory McPeak. He's a Twitter comedian now, so so whatever but then he has a hidden Twitter presence. He like brags about having 3,000 Twitter followers, but it's all under a fake alias, so I don't even know his name, but on Twitter, so I can't shout him out. But he was doing, we used to host a mic at North Bar. He used to do comedy all the time, but he doesn't do it so much anymore. We hosted a mic at North Bar. He was living with me, Matt, and then my two other roommates.
God damn, how big is this?
I live in a 4-bedroom, 1,600. That rent hasn't gone up, so it's $400 a bedroom.
Okay, yeah, don't tell anyone where you live because they'll poach that shit.
I post it. I post it regularly because people move out, and I post them. Some people, but I would be hesitant to. If you went for it, you could get it because it would be a step up.
This feels okay.
Shot. No,
I got a bed.
No, I'm teasing.
You're good.
No, but yeah. You got your own bathroom. That is huge.
Yeah,
your own bathroom is the main thing.
I needed to be alone for a little bit, like this.
Yeah, we're not alone, so it's the very opposite of that. And then 7 years of not alone, but which helped during the pandemic. But it was also that would your Tiger King period. That period sucked, and I was at same boat. I was inside the entire time. I'd go on walks, and like I'd go to like bakeries I never went to before because shit was still open,
Yeah.
and there was no mask thing yet. Like masks were like 2 months in. Like there weren't masks until like I want to say like 2 months into the pandemic.
Really?
I feel like your Tiger King, like even like like I want to say it was like a month before, like May, like April, May is when masks came out.
I think for me, I was living with my grandma at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in the garage with my grandma at the time.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think we were more on the mask. So
That's fair, yeah.
I remember doing masks early on, and that Tiger period time was actually it was boring was not the right word. Transformative for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's been weird. This is our first time like really talk. I'm so glad I'm getting to actually.
Oh
talk
yeah,
to
I'm a very interesting man.
You're like the Dos Equis guy.
I wish. I hope to age into it, get my hair transplant.
Would you actually do that? Would you do hair transplants?
Yeah, why not? Maybe if I don't care enough, but if I also had like unlimited wealth, then yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I would definitely do. I love my hair.
Yeah.
If it started going, I would lose my shit.
Yeah. Of all the things, I mean, clearly it does because I never thought I'd be the guy who'd keep it when it was still at this point, but you know, $7,000 to not have to just get it back, go to Turkey for a week, $7,000 and it's back. Yeah, I'll do that. if I'm a millionaire, I'll do that.
Have you ever shaved it?
Yeah, actually a couple times. And actually that's usually what I do is that it just sucks to like, you forget to shave. It goes like, that's basically what I do is I'll probably do it any day now. But yeah, like it'll grow to this. And like, this is like 2.5 months of hair, you know, it's like, you know, it grows quickish.
I want to get you little braids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a braid.
I have very fine hair and I always had fine. You know, I had to, I took a drug test, a hair test. Yeah. And I had to relax it to pass it. And I relaxed it way long. Like it's already, they're like based on the thickness of your hair is how much the time you should relax it. And I'm not even on the scale. Like you're not supposed to relax it with this hair.
Pre-scale.
I'm pre-scale. Yeah, 100%.
That's funny.
You know, and I went past the 10 range. You know, you'd probably be like a 7 or an 8, right? Right. And I went to like past 10 is the top. And I went to like 15.
You went for it, bro.
And I really think that accelerated my balding. I also bleached my hair 3 times, dyed it back because you can't go to work the next. I'd have to bleach. I had 3 days to pass a test.
Were you doing like a Slim Shady thing? Was it?
So I'd bleach it at night, stay up all night, dye it back. I'd bleach it, then dye it in the same night, dye it back to as close to my natural hair color. Because my coworkers can't be like, "Why the fuck are you bleaching your hair, you weirdo?"
Your poor hair follicles, man.
Oh, it definitely accelerated my balding. I passed the test, 21 days of no weed. Passed the weed test in hair, and which takes 3 months to clean it out, and. But then your dye washes out. The bleach is more powerful than the dye. So like 3 weeks into my job, I had orange hair again. Like I knew because it was like the mix of like everything.
Do you still have the job now?
I'm 5 years in, and it's crazy. Like even talking about like, I hit my pension January 2nd.
Oh, so you're good.
Yeah, 2 weeks notice is Monday. If I like, I'm not going to do it.
Oh, okay.
But I wasn't. I was holding on to this job until
you got your pension.
Yeah,
that's some old. Are we old?
So when I'm 62, if I quit right now, in addition to whatever else I have, I'll get like $350. No more. It won't go up for inflation. It'll be like a $350 paycheck every month until I die.
That is not bad.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. For just staying for 5 years. But if I left, I've been putting money into it. I'd lose that money if I left.
Fucking.
Yeah.
Our whole system. How old are you?
30.
Okay, I'm 31. Our whole system is weird. I'm trying to be an adult and navigate this shit is
100%. But 100%. If I stayed with this job for 25 years, I could retire at 55, find a way to get money to 62.
Yeah.
And then get like a full, like 80% of what my salary is.
Everything. Okay, so I remember
would be crazy every month and not work.
Did you grow up with both of your parents are from Chicago, right?
Both are from Chicago. I grew up with both of them, but they were not together.
Okay, you're like Chicago bred out here. Right?
I'm very I'm very.
I definitely want to get into that, but it's the way you just described. Going to age 60 is the most depressing.
It depresses me. That's what I think about all the time.
And that's how I was. I was raised with that, like, just get a job, and then you do that
Mm-hmm.
job, and then you can retire, and then you can smile, but you're old and rickety at that point. And it's like, wait, I don't want to travel at 70.
No, but you also do.
Yeah. I think what I'm saying is I don't
But I
want
get
to
it.
wait
Yeah.
till 70
to travel is the
Right.
correct answer. I agree with that.
Right.
Too. Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of why I want this comedy thing to be successful. It's like I want to live life on my own terms.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
I fully agree. That's why I'm trying to quit this corporate. But that's also where it's like, okay. But I do think you need like the seeds so that you're not just destitute in your 70s.
Yes.
And that's the hard balance.
It is a very hard, especially in this business, if we can call it that.
Yeah,
right
because
now.
but luckily with it, stand up compared to every other form, until we lose our mind, I don't understand. Like I don't understand how we won't just get better till we're 70. Like there's some old heads we see that and some are new. That's mostly why. There's very few 70, and I always wonder that too. It's like, why aren't there granted there wasn't as many comedians back then, but I'd love to see like, what do we think at 70, you know? Because it's not gonna, I'm just gonna be that much wiser. I think at a time I thought we lose touch with stuff, but I don't necessarily think that anymore. And I'm hoping like I'll just be even more relevant. It's harder to connect with youth at that point, and I think they're a big but I think the biggest, so you have to challenge, you have to work with that, but you could be a comedian into your 70s.
Yeah, it's not like being a basketball player.
100%.
Yeah, a rapper. No one wants to watch a 70-year-old rapper.
Yeah.
But, well, actually...
It could. I mean, like Jay-Z, I could see Jay-Z Tribe Called Quest. We haven't had the time to see it yet.
Have you seen, there's these two British guys. God
I just
damn.
saw him last night for the first time. It's crazy.
You saw the...
Did you share it? Did you share it on Instagram? I only saw these like two old northern British
Pete
guys.
and Boz.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know their name. I just watched a bunch of their clips, and it is so crazy. Yeah.
They are sick as fuck.
Yeah, no, yeah, and they're like rapping about gardening and shit. And like, yeah, they're like, but the flow is really good. It's like, and it's that British like, bup, 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 bup.
Yes.
Oh, I don't give a fuck. I'm old.
These guys?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, these guys were fucking killing it.
It's crazy. It's like... I watched interviews with them. Did you watch interviews?
I haven't watched. I saw them for the first time on an Instagram clip.
Dude,
last
I think
TikTok
they did a Vice interview. These guys are like old school, hardcore mafioso type dudes.
Oh damn!
You gotta check that shit out later.
That's awesome. I was assuming they were like punk guys, and they're like, because that age might add, and it would make sense if like I think a punk guy could just do a punk flow on for like a hip hop.
But the getting older and the goals, like I don't know how you were raised or how your family raised you, but for me it was like you go to college and then you get a job and then you make money and then blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, my parents were almost they were like, do whatever you want. No, there are some directions, but one thing my dad, and this is only recently, has instilled is like, and he has a good point. It's like one of the easiest ways to set yourself up to retire is to own your own home, because then you could, theoretically. And this sucks because this also ties me down to Chicago. But this is like where the 30-year plan is depressing. But say I bought a house right now because I have a corporate job and I have the credit. And I hate this plan because it ties me down to Chicago. But then I buy a house, I pay mortgage, I have it's going to be a 2-flat. I have to buy a house that I can get tenants for as well, so that they can pay it down, so that I can actually have free rent. And then eventually, hopefully, make it enough in comedy where I kick the tenants out and I just have a house and a family in the house.
Yes.
Raise my family in this house, sell it when the kids are gone. And then you hope the profit you make selling the house and the condo. And it's just, that's depressing. But it's like, that's the only way I see like
survival.
Yeah. In the old age plan. It's like that chunk of money between the smaller house you move into.
You said you didn't want to get tied down to Chicago.
Well, I'm learning about I don't understand how comedy works yet. Like the business. No, 5 years. But it's like, but the internet age, and like there are people who are making shit work in like cities smaller than Chicago, and we have an international airport. I don't think you could make a full-time career work in stand-up if you don't live next to a major airport.
That's fair.
Like. But I don't, but then flip side, there's stand-ups that like even way high up stand-ups where it's like I don't think they can afford to live in New York or LA.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I know of guy. What is his name? Ali Sadiq. Do you know Ali Sadiq? I think he's based in Atlanta.
yeah, that'd be there's I mean, if you're making $100K a year doing stand-up, in my world, you're killing it.
Yeah.
But also, you can't afford New York.
Yes.
Like,
do you think you would want to move to New York at some point?
I lived there for 5 years, so there's a lot of things where I think it's easier for me, and I go back and visit roughly. I went to college there.
Okay.
And I stayed there an extra year. But then the flip side, I don't want to stay there forever.
What was it like? I hear mixed things. Like, I know Brian Rowe talks a lot of shit about New York.
I mean, I love it. I think someone like yourself, I mean, Chicago's so much more affordable.
Yeah.
But it's like this, it's like I have the connection of having roots here, but like I don't, New York is so much more relevant, I think, at the same time,
I can't wait to visit because I love Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm very seriously considering getting the hacky Chicago flag.
Oh, hell yeah, bro. Go for it.
Like, moving out here I've never been happier. Don't get me wrong, seasonal depression's kicking the shit out of me right
the
now.
weather's the worst thing about it. But New York wouldn't be better, and LA would, but LA I don't love.
Have you been?
I almost tried to move there, basically.
What
I
was
moved out there for a week.
What was your perception of LA?
Every time I go, it's just that it's so far, everything's so far from each other that like, unless you had all your best friends in a 15-minute drive, I just don't see your world like, and I don't understand. I think that's a depressing, that's more depressing than anything else,
It's definitely not built for public transit, like at all.
Yeah,
you need a car.
Oh, 100%. And then people aren't even willing. Like, so every time I go out there, I'm dependent on my friends to drive me places. And then no one wants to drive beyond 15 minutes.
Traffic.
What part of California are you from?
I'm from Riverside, so
Okay.
I'm like south of LA, maybe an hour some change. But
Yeah.
you add traffic to that bitch, it's a motherfucker.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. It's like, and that's like, there's just this sprawl of the country is like this SoCal sprawl.
California it should be its own goddamn nation.
It's one of the few places that I think could qualify. It's like that whole that whole LA, San Bernardino, like it would end at like Joshua Tree, like that'd be like your border.
Yeah.
And then you could be like your own country.
And
then there's like a stretch of desert, like 10 miles between San Diego and LA, where you could like cut it, or like not desert, but like there's no town, right? Or
it's
something.
just the what is it? PCH. The when you drive basically next to the ocean all the way down.
Yeah, and then there's like a stretch where like you're like in all LA suburbs, and then you have like a couple miles stretch where there's no suburb, and then it's all San Diego suburb.
Dude, I'm not like I know you were saying the weather here sucks. I actually, as depressed as I've been because of the dreariness, I appreciate this because it changes.
Yeah.
Like you, how long have you stayed in California? Like, what's the longest period of time?
So I've been there. It was 3 weeks in January of 2021.
Ooh, okay, that's a weird time.
But it was everything was dead, and I didn't have a car, and I was in East Hollywood.
Okay.
Right next to Silver Lake, and I couldn't go 6 blocks before there would be like a homeless camp that would be like a serious threat. And like I've gone all over the country. I don't think there's a threat more. Like that's like a separate thing. That's a serious
Skid Row out there is not a game.
Yeah, and then and just any overpass can be one.
And the weather allows more of it.
Yeah,
like out here, what I appreciate about the homeless out here is they kind of leave you alone. They're very self-resilient.
Yeah, they're friendly. Every homeless person in Chicago, if they ask me, they're not demanding, aggressive, overpowering enough that I'll talk to anyone that talks to me that's homeless in Chicago. I respond to. I won't give them necessarily things all the time, but I acknowledge their existence.
That's very.
But in LA, I can't do that.
Yeah,
and it's not safe.
They're not humans. They're mutants.
It's scary, bro. And it's like you have to treat. I mean, I get that we're everywhere in the country's just sending them to LA and the Bay and things like that. But it's also like you go out, but specifically LA, I feel too, where it's like I would rent Lime scooters and just scooter past the underpass and then get off it, and just because it was like, dude, I'm not.
They have their own army. I think if the homeless out there were organized enough, they could take over.
They
could pull a January 6th.
Well, it's a thing too. Like, don't touch it.
No, but you know, when I first moved out, like when you were saying you were learning the business of comedy.
Yeah.
I'm 7 years in, but I'm 7 years in basically in where I was from, Riverside, and I really need to emphasize that Riverside is not LA.
Yeah.
And I know you get that because you've
Yeah.
been out there, but you know, when I say California, there's this running theme of people picturing LA.
Yeah.
And so where I was from, like we had to build our own comedy scene from the ground up. And so I spent good goddamn 6 years hosting and like not getting to see comics at the level I see out here, which is crazy. Yeah. And I didn't understand the business in the same way. I just didn't understand a lot. Like I actually remember, this is the first time I remembered you. You, I think I was going to Taylor Street, and I think you were on the road at the time. And so I'd gotten to know Jeff a little bit. I thought he ran it. And then when you showed up, I was like, oh, I guess it's a team thing. I don't know. But you were saying that you were coming from the road, and my eyes lit up. And I was like, oh, he's a road comic. He must be famous.
Yeah.
And you looked run down. You looked tired. And there was this almost fantasy I had in my head about that. Yeah. And now that I've been out here a year and I've hit the road a little bit, I'm like, that's not a...
No, 100%. That's awesome, though. Because I have that moment with certain comics, too. I remember Chris Damon saying it, where he's like, I did a gig in South Dakota. And I'm like, at the time, like, I still haven't been to South Dakota. Yeah. And, but I'm like, he just drove the 10 hours to South Dakota to do probably a bar gig. We got to do a good amount of time. Probably got like $50-$100, which is better than most days, but that's not the gas. It won't cover gas.
It's crazy because I don't know if you feel it, but do you ever feel like when you're on the road or I don't know if you've been fortunate enough to get like a place, like the venue will get a place for you. It's surreal. It's like, oh, I'm doing my dream. But then you have 8 hours of waiting for the show, and that surreal dissipates, and you're like, oh, shit, I'm doing my dream, and this is my dream?
Yeah. I've never been that fortunate. So there's
really?
That. Yeah, I have one offer on the table. So if I go to Luxembourg, they have a club there.
Where the fuck is Luxembourg?
It's its own country and city, but it's between France and Germany. And there's a guy there, and I met him in Madrid, and he runs the club. He was traveling, but he owns the Luxembourg club. And he's like, yeah, you could headline. We got a comedy.
You gotta give him a handy.
And I need to get it so I could sit in it all day. But my take with that is, it's like, that's where I don't know. It's like, do you do comedy in the shitty, because the shitty town, like what town were you in? Where did that story take place? Or it hasn't taken place for me yet.
I was in South Bend, Indiana.
Yeah, that town would suck, right? Like, you just got to walk around Notre Dame's. Like, you got to try to look at the field and then call it a day. They got that clock, I think. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if I want to do, like, I don't know how I would connect in a town. I wonder about the towns that have literally no culture. But, like, if they have an old town square, walk around that for 5 minutes.
It's every time I leave Chicago, I come back with this. Every time I see the skyline coming back, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm back in civilization.
Yeah.
I going to South Bend. It was weird. It gave me echoes of Riverside, and I remember the first time I did, I had fucking anxiety. And it's interesting because I'm sure you feel this when you leave the city, you crush.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Oh yeah.
Because like their standard for what is funny is the bars in the dirt.
Yeah, Chicago has the unfortunate distinction of being like the only place where comedy isn't cool because it's so big and it is so cool. There's so many people doing it that there's like yeah, when you're one of like even in Austin, which is you're one of 3 shows going on. So there's enough people wanting to see it. But yeah, if you're not at Zany's, everyone knows, like even anywhere you're at, if they know what they're getting. Everyone in Chicago knows it's like, we're getting a no-name comic that, we get it.
Have you had that where you get off stage and you do well and out in not Chicago and people think you're famous?
It's bizarre when it's a fun thing of like when people are like, No, I think I don't fool anyone into thinking I'm famous, but it is that bizarre, like, oh, you're gonna be you know.
Yeah.
And I will say this: I got my bag searched at London Airport, and I was getting them, and there was the microphones that set them off. But I was so stupid. I snuck a ton of, not even a ton of weed. I snuck like 2 grams of weed, and I'm like, I'm an American. I'm in England.
You're gonna get that Brittany Griner effect.
Oh, 100%. And this old lady, was like, the old manager was like, does it smell of weed? And then the other younger lady was like, it does smell of weed. And there was like a ton of bags, but it was like, my bag was definitely the one. Yeah. And then they start smelling. It's like, it definitely smells of weed.
I picture the cartoon wiggly
Oh
lines.
my God. It was that. And they searched everything, and she definitely saw. And I was, all I did was I deodoranted the dye bag. And I just, she didn't even grab it, but the mic set it off. That's why I was stupid enough. Like, I would have been fine because the smell, because that's the thing. Smell doesn't set off the sensors. It doesn't have to worry about smell yet. You have to worry about smell on the plane. You buy hot food, put it in the hot food in the plane. But the first, you just got to worry about the sensors. But my mic set off the sensors, and I'm like, I'm a comedian. And then I just named the neighborhoods I performed in London, because I was in like these ritzy neighborhoods. It was like shitty bar shows. Yeah. And I was like, I performed at Knightsbridge and whatever, and Oxford Circus. And she's like, ooh. And then she didn't fucking grab the weed. So that's the best privilege I've ever gotten off comedy.
That is it's a fascinating mental space. Like, I can see why people become douchebags.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. You have to let it. You have to counter it and not let it go to your head.
Oh, you have to bomb.
Oh yeah, that's what's great. Yeah, is that we still bomb. Because if I get crushed 7 times in a row, I'm way douchier until that bomb happens.
It's an interesting like mindset to be in, where you need to be confident but relatable, but yourself, but broad. It's so many different angles that I didn't understand until moving out here.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a great place because I think there's so much talent that is just there's such a girth of talent that you see it.
Do you have the Chicago pride? The way I'm going to continue to reference Brian Rowe here, because Tina, I don't want to fuck up her last name.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, I mean, granted, here's where I'll drop that I'm the only one you named from the city of those 3.
Oh boy! Yeah, we're talking some shit about the birds.
I don't know that for sure. I don't know. But I think I had it. I was unhealthy how much I had it. Really? So now I tone it down. And now you're also like, you get older and you're like, dude, anyone who wants to live in Chicago should move to Chicago. Like, you should get a tattoo. Anyone who wants to commit to being a Chicago, like, I was definitely like, if you weren't born in the city, raised in the city, I was definitely a contributor to why people had to specify if they're from the suburbs or not as a city kid. And I definitely built into that stuff. And it is a different lifestyle. And there's weird things where no matter where you grew up in the city, you have these weird connections. Mm-hmm. But then there's things too. It's like, and then, there's like kids in, rich ass homes and mansions. There's like there's weird, it's a weird city.
It's
but I love Chicago, and I do have a huge pride, and it is my favorite city. The more I travel,
I'm excited to travel more so I can continue to appreciate this place.
Compare. Yeah, and that's because it's like we have bars that go. We have 2 a.m., 4 a.m. bars, and that I appreciate the more I travel. Restaurants that are open that late. Diners. I didn't know that one till recently.
Oh, that we.
Yeah, friends were in from Denver, and they were like. They were impressed by our the fact that we have a lot of diners that are 24 hours. Took them to Golden Apple. It was pretty cool.
You know what I'm working on? Being more sociable. Like, I know when I was at Taylor Street, we saw each other a fair amount, but we don't see each other within the scene much. Mm-hmm. I disappear after about 10 o'clock.
No, but I think that's healthy in its own way too. Like, I mean, we don't see each other outside of comedy, but we do see each other a crazy amount of times, to be fair. And I don't do shit. I mean, I do try to make an effort if someone I like invites me to a social event. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, I'm not seeking them out because we're so also busy, I think.
Well, it's busy, and I get. I've worked. I'm getting better at it, but I feel like when I first moved out here, I probably came off pretty aloof, at least in the beginning. I remember being real quiet and not knowing how to navigate people, and I think I was worried about like letting my personality out too much because I didn't like my personality. And now as I understand myself a little more, I'm getting more comfortable with being me, I guess. But I have this social media that dies, and once that battery is dead, I become a fucking asshole.
No, that's how I am, 100%. Well, I'm also, the thing with me is, I don't know, I feel like I'm from where it's like, all right, we just and I also feel like with comedy, it's like, yeah, I'm going to be a bit of a dick. I'm not really, it means I love you, but it's like, but, yeah, I don't know.
You said,
I don't know. But one thing about the Chicago Pride that benefited me is definitely starting open mic when I started doing mics when no one knew who I was. I was definitely like, I'm from Logan Square. I'm the only comic, I think, in this up to this point. I think I'm the only comic I know who like grew up in Logan Square.
Right, like you're from here.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, like when I'm at Kohl's, and no one knows you, you feel like you don't belong. At the very beginning, you feel like you don't belong. But I always felt, while I felt that, I also felt like I belonged the most. Like I was like, I had a chip on my shoulder. I had that chip on my shoulder that helped me. And that period of where I am aloof, and I'm relatively aloof. Like I would love for you to have a party and we could like hang out and jump on your bed. But
dude, that bed's new.
No, it looks like a good bed. I'm just busting your balls.
But I'm so excited about it. It's my first adult-sized bed. I've been
nice.
sleeping on futons, and before this setup, my bed was a twin-size college bed. It was a mattress on the floor, literally right here.
Yeah.
So if we want to have a pillow fight and jump on that bed, I'm happy to do it. But chip on your shoulder, I definitely. I had and probably still have that to some degree because I'm new out here, but I'm not new to comedy.
Yeah.
It's like I showed up and I could feel people were like, he's like, oh, so he what?
People definitely like you have to prove yourself for like a year. Here,
dude, a year.
Yeah, as a guy,
I found myself, not to say I'm working. Talk to my therapist about this. Let me speak positively about myself. I think I am the funniest person to me.
I feel you. Yeah, and that's how you should feel.
And I think objectively, like I do know what I'm doing. When I bomb hard.
Yeah.
Because I think my stuff is so emotion driven.
Yeah. And
so when it doesn't click, it really gets weird. But when I do well, I think I do pretty well, and I find myself consistently doing pretty well, especially at mics.
Yeah.
And I got to a point a fair amount of months in, maybe like 9 months in, where I was like, why am I not getting booked? What the fuck is going on? Like I every night I'm doing well, and I'm realizing more and more that this city is huge.
Yeah.
And it's gonna take even longer.
Oh yeah, and it may be too long.
Yeah.
And maybe you do have to build your own way, because it is things like there are people headlining in this country who are way worse than both of us.
Yeah.
That's like not even a question. And how do you figure out how to because unless you do that, you're not.
I'm sorry. What?
And I don't know how to do it if I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, the navigating the business and the social aspect of this. I know let's see, without saying too much because I don't want this to become the TMZ of podcasts. But I know I've upset people. I know I've offended and or hurt people's feelings. And it's like I get concerned that like, oh, what if did I poison the well of this place that I'm at? But then the well is so big, and so I don't know.
Well, that's the thing of like where I think too. It's like there are so many wells, and it's like and until you to make it, you can't be concerned. But we are at a place where we live and die off like 3 wells currently. So, but if we could figure out how to travel the country, and then it is a thing if you don't need to. If you burn a bar showcase, it's like, oh well, and it's just natural that like relationships some are gonna sour.
Yeah.
And then it's like, so you're just screwed out of like that lane,
The high school nature of a
so
comedy,
petty.
it's really weird.
Yeah. But to me, the only ones where I would like there's people who I love making fun of, but in terms of truly dislike, it's only people who I think have shown their true colors of being like horrendous people. Yeah.
What is the line for you? What is the line of like, oh, you did this, and it's like, I don't think I can be around this.
Clearly it's, I mean, there's a line of like, yeah, you got out, there's certain allegations, you're going to need to address these.
That's fair.
You're not going to be able to get into my open mic. Please don't message me. When everyone knows there's allegations against you, please don't just start messaging me saying you're showing up to my open mic. Please just avoid me. Please don't bring me into your world. But in terms of not be, I also, there's people who, there's things, the thing that annoys me the most are people who like cut the line and like complain, and it's like, especially at open mics.
When you say cut, you mean
I mean literally cut lines. Like if I mean literally, and I see it, and I'm like, bro. Yeah. And there's people who are in it as long as us who I've seen who are still literally cutting the line, and I don't want to. But it's like, bro, it's like that's so like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And people I see whine. I saw some. I've seen some people complain and whine, and I'm like, what are you doing?
I'm working on.
I've seen a lot of comics not tip, like just totally stiff a tip,
and just yeah. There's a disrespect to the venue and the space that's letting.
Yeah, that I don't hold personally, but then I laugh at because I'm like, all right, that's funny.
There is a. I mean, outside of the few that I'm sure you're picturing, there's also a respect of the game out here that I like.
Yes.
Like and this is another reason why I pick Chicago. Mm-hmm. Is LA to me feels like where people try to go to get famous, and there's an energy.
And there feels like a delusion to me for LA, because to me with LA, every time I've gone to LA with and it's only like twice where I've like tried an incorporation of comedy, it felt like these people are the furthest from Hollywood of any scene, where it's like most of them, are trying to be actors, and it's like it's like
models.
Models, 100%, yeah, and it's like, and this is just a monologue.
Yeah. You hit that exact. Yeah. It's exactly what it feels like. It feels like someone typed out a good page of words and is reciting it to you.
There's a comic who I recently I met and performed. I saw their performance, and they're a headliner, and theirs was just a monologue. It was a great monologue. It was, they had a 15-minute set or 20-minute set. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't seeing their full hour, but they're doing full hours, and I'm sure their full hour is maybe, a second monologue or just a longer version of this. And it's good, but it isn't, there's no, the hard part of the comedy, the hard part of the performance. If you get a good hour, I mean, that's the thing. You could do a good hour on a good monologue, and you'll make it work, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
And you can't. I don't think that translates to bars, which is what
we're doing. But I would love to do clubs. I would love to do clubs and trick people with like a well-written hour, and especially because there was just like no heart, no soul, but it was like ba-da-ba-da-ba.
Yeah. It's interesting how people hear the cadence of comedy. When people first start doing stand-up, and I watch them out here in the city, I hear the cadence. I know that you know what it sounds like to hit the punchline, but you don't actually have a punchline. It's very interesting to see.
Yeah.
But in terms of respecting of the craft, like, this city has so much history.
Yeah.
And so there's a lineage of passing down this torch of etiquette almost. Where I was from, it didn't exist. When I first started, I started a mic at this place called The Hideaway, and it was all me. So I was doing the music, I was hosting, and I was going upstairs barking. Mm-hmm. I set up this whiteboard, and the comics were all there. There are no other mics for miles.
Yeah.
So it's a good 20, 25 people. And I set this whiteboard up, I put the markers there, and I say, all right, guys, just, whatever order you came in, just write your names. Does that sound reasonable, Donovan? Before I continue this story.
Yeah, that sounds like the normal.
As someone from Chicago who does comedy.
Yeah, that sounds like what it's done.
I go upstairs to go bark to try to get an audience. And one by one, these comics are coming out, getting in my face and screaming at me. They're one by one. Hey, you fucking, what are you doing, you fucking idiot? And then they walk away. And then another one come up. Hey, man, you fucking moron. What are you doing down there? And then would walk away. And I'm a good 10, 15 people. And what I found out later was they were all fight. There was a near fist fight. People were writing their names, and then people would erase their names and then write their friends' names. And it made me it colored my perception of comedy wrong and comedians wrong. Like I
Yeah,
thought
they're
I
evil.
I thought I hated comics.
They'll cut the line.
Right. Well, I thought that don't get me wrong, comics, including myself, we could be childish.
Yeah.
But my perception of comedians was that for years.
Yeah.
And so moving out here and seeing you to be able to say, okay, don't be a dick, and people actually for the most part follow that, I was like, we're in heaven.
Oh yeah.
I really want to emphasize how much I love Chicago, and I'm trying not to use the word envious or jealous anymore, but I appreciate your appreciation of it, that you realize how fucking cool this place is.
Yeah, well, I didn't appreciate that until you just said it, so thank you. Of that thing though, where it is like, yeah, don't be a dick, and that's what we all say. It's like, just fucking play by the rules.
It's so simple.
Yeah, and it is like, and there are people who still do it, but I do think they get weeded up. But I also think a lot of times I'm the asshole who's like, you fuck, like there's this tall blonde. I call him out because it is like, dude, don't fucking cut the line.
Yeah,
but overall, it's most people are cool. Most people are cool, and it's like, most people quit.
Yeah.
So
yeah. The
trying to be better about hate when it's like most people quit, and then it's easier when it's a lot easier now because I do feel like, okay, good for them for still doing it. Good for you guys for hanging out with me for 5 years.
To get away from comedy for a second, you said something that actually seemed kind of sweet. You were describing getting a house and having a family. Are you in a relationship?
I'm single currently, and I don't want one now. I do want to focus on comedy for the most part for the near future. But I would love kids at some point.
Really?
I think, yeah.
Why?
I mean, I do think like, well, it's such a hard balance because it's the same thing with like a dog. Like I know I'm not responsible enough for a dog. I would love a dog, but kids are cool. That would be a cool part of like my middle chapter, like 45 with some kids. 30-year-old wife.
I hope you have kids so they can look back on this video and hear their dad be like, yeah, they're chill or whatever.
That'd be so much better than I'm sure what 99% of people. I'm sure I was a mistake. So I was like, I'm sure my dad was like, fuck. I would have been, like that was you get to a point you're like, yeah, whatever. Kids,
chill.
At some point. I'd like a dope house. It wouldn't be I couldn't afford one though. So
yeah.
I'd like I would like to have my own.
I am with you. I have a girlfriend now, which I'm very happy about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I finally. You don't seem like you were ever a fuckboy.
I wasn't hot enough to ever fully be one.
When did the hair start going? When was that?
In my mind, it's 16. In my eyes, 16. I don't know. But I've also, I've never been a fuckboy, but I also, I know how to talk to people. So I've never had it the worst. I always felt like, I feel like I'm right in the 50th percentile of like getting laid.
I'm sure you could pick up on my vibe. I used to be.
You'd be the guy who had puka shells at one point in your life?
Yes, 100%. I remember and it was so funny because it wasn't me, but I would get a button-up shirt like a douchebag, and I would go to the club and I'd be like, let me, hey,
yeah,
that dumb shit. And I when you describe wanting a family and a house and all of that, if you were to talk to me 2015, 16, I'd be like, what do you mean, bro? There's all this poon we can.
Yeah. Well, at 22, I would have said I don't want to get. I still think I'm too young to do this, which is crazy. I'm not, but I feel like I think, and with comedy, we'd get a little longevity. I mean, I also got it. I don't lie that like a big reason I got into comedy was to meet women and talk to women, and it works.
It really does. I'm curious, and you're probably not the person to ask. I should ask a female comic about this, but do you think it works in reverse? Because when I talk to women,
they always say it doesn't, but it does.
You think so?
I would date a woman comic if I wasn't a comic. I would date a woman comic, and I'd be honored to.
Because honor, ooh.
I would think I think it's like you get a good chance of having a woman who's like fucking
Cool.
clever and probably cooler than you to be. And honestly, most chick comics are cooler than the boyfriends they date outside the.
Yeah.
Some of their boyfriends are like, wow, okay.
I think that's.
But I respect that guy for being so. All right.
I
holding
think
it down
because you are an interesting person, though. Like, I think a lot of guys, when they watch female comedians, they get intimidated. They're like,
yeah,
it's like, well, I'm not going to be the alpha in this. Like, she has all the attention. She has the microphone.
Yeah, which is to me would be because it's like you just have a better challenge to alpha. You're like, no, I'm still gonna. You still shut up, shut up, girl.
I'm gonna be the silent card in the corner. Yeah, man, but it is crazy how sometimes all you got to do is get on stage and say some jokes, and then all of a sudden it's weird.
That's why it also makes a relationship challenging. I've never been a cheater, but also at the same time, it is like very challenging when like a beautiful like 9.5, 10 comes up to you and is like fawning over you, and you're me, and you're like, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it also happens like once a month, not once, but maybe, and
you get a good run of shows.
Yeah, exactly, and then if you get a good run of shows, yeah. When I was in Europe, I went on a date with a beautiful woman every night. Went nowhere with any of them. And then I was like, all right, I got to get my life. I'm going to start focusing on stepping my goals up. But it was like, I was a comedian. That was like the first place also was like the fact that I was a comedian in my Tinder bio was like crushing it. And it never works in Chicago. It'll never work in New York. It'll never work in LA. Mm-hmm. It'll kind of work in every other town or city, though, in America.
Yeah.
And it was crushing in Barcelona, Europe.
What do you Barcelona?
I went on a date. The woman I went on a date with in Barcelona was like mind-bogglingly beautiful, and then she rejected me so hard right after. She's like, "I'll never see you again."
She said that? Yeah. They're just blunt like that in Barcelona?
Yeah, they speak very direct, is what my mom said. Yeah,
I respect it.
Yeah.
In changing and growing in life and all that stuff, in tweaking my priorities, I'll say, the idea of settling down with a person or people. I don't know. I'm polyamorous.
Yeah. Oh, now I know.
And now you know this. By polyamorous, I don't mean like.
You're gonna have 5 people in your house when you find the 5 right ones.
3, 2, 3 counting me. The goal is
and guess I'm the guess. The other 2 are both women.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Can I say though? I would like to say if I was bisexual, if I was interested in men, I would be down for.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
If I was into men, I'd be down to date a man.
Dude, come on.
If I was into fucking men, I'd be down to date a man too. But I'm not. So I'm not.
Wouldn't it be so dope? You guys all hang out, you hit the punching bag, you fuck, and
no, it'd be way better. It'd be way better to be into men.
It'd be sick.
But I'm not. So it ain't.
But my girlfriend, I talked to her about it. Like when I first met her, I was like, "This is my intent. Just so you know, like straight up, this is what I want." And we talked about it, and one of the things that people misunderstand when I say that is that they're picturing me trying to be the king of the castle, and I think it's more like, no, I like female energy around, like I feel cuddled and supported. It's a very emotional thing. I'm an emotional guy, dude. I don't know if you know this.
I just feel like whenever someone defends polyamory and gives any reason beyond, no, you just want to sleep with multiple women. That's all it is on every side. That's the only criticism. That's the only defense.
I promise you.
I don't judge you.
Oh, fuck you. Yes, you do. You judge my bed.
I judge your bed. Yeah, I judge.
I
judge you, but I don't judge you for sleeping with multiple women.
Okay, so that's fine.
That's fine.
The bed where I'm sleeping with the multiple women is a little fucked up.
Well, no. Well, no. You're fine.
No, there's enough space, right?
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
It's like technically a frame, right?
Yeah, that's my mom sent it, and she was like, "You're gonna have a bed. You're gonna have something under your mattress. We're not doing this mattress."
No, yeah. It's like, on Amazon you get the box frame for like $40.
Easy.
There you go.
Okay.
If I get you we should do a Secret Santa, and I'd know what I get if I had you.
Condoms?
No, a bed frame.
Oh, okay.
An Amazon metal frame.
What would you want for Christmas?
I want really nice earbuds. I was like debating asking my mom. I haven't asked for anything specific in like 10 years. And then my little cousin asked my grandma for those massage guns. My little cousin is like 9. And my grandma hurt her like arm or something. Like she broke her, maybe it was, I don't know, nothing serious. But she broke a bone. And then she got the massage gun, and then my little cousin asked for one, and I was so jealous because I was like, oh, you could actually want something and ask for it, and then he got it.
Were you not the type to speak up for things?
No, I mean, as a kid I was, but now I'm as an adult. It's like, don't
It's a
worry about
different-
me.
yeah.
But this year it's like a nice pair of
Earpods.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, how much are AirPods? Because those are pretty pricey, right?
The nice ones, like
Yeah.
the Mac
Yeah,
version, but the regular, I have some regular ones that I got for fairly cheap.
Yeah, I was like, I'm trying to get my mom to give me like $60 headphones for Christmas. I think that's where I could get out
That's a
of it.
reasonable range, I think.
Yeah.
This relationship bullshit. That's what I was talking to her. Oh yeah, she was like, yeah, I'm down. Yeah, that sounds great. So it's God damn it. I shouldn't have brought up the triad because it makes it sound slimy.
I'm just messing with you, bro.
I know. I feel like I've been perceived as so slimy over the years. It really is more complicated than that for me. Emotionally. Don't get me wrong. Sexually, it's awesome. But like emotionally, it is more complicated.
Yeah.
But
I don't think if you don't have to compromise the person you're with, like if the person you're with is the one you want and she's into it, then it's great.
yeah, and she's great. It's been really nice, like being with someone who I like as a human. You ever slept with someone and then as soon as post nut remorse where you're like, oh, I don't
All the
like-
time. Well, I do that a lot less. That was the phase where I was dyeing my hair. That December
your
2017.
Slim Shady face.
Yeah, that was where I was like, I gotta fucking. I gotta.
Right afterwards, you're like,
I'm sure I've been that person for a lot of women. I'm sure I'm that guy. Like, I gotta fucking step my life up.
what time? How many? Okay.
Cool.
I'm trying to find a way to a nice little way to wrap up every podcast where the guest says something straight to the camera, but I don't know what to ask yet, and I don't know what should be said. What do you think I should ask comics to say straight to the camera and or to the audience?
Remember to be funny. It's about being funny. We were too serious, maybe. Maybe be funny. Maybe be funny. I do wonder who I did. I love that. This is I don't just go into rooms and never talk to a man. I love that I haven't addressed the cameras. There's like 10 camera crew here. I haven't addressed any of them. Haven't made him laugh once. I've been trying. All their backs are clearly in pain. I didn't speak. I should have spoke to this person. I just ignored them. I said, I have the talent. And then, but I'm gonna be better about that. They say you dress the janitor like the CEO, and I'm not saying this cameraman's the janitor, but I didn't treat him like the CEO. And he seems very interesting. His back is clearly in pain, so he should unionize. I'm sure, I'm very interested by all of this dynamic. This was a Craigslist post out there. Is this a response for a Craigslist post? You a Columbia College student? I don't know. Are you? I don't know. You okay? Well, are you? I don't know.
And you know what? On that note, let's end the podcast. All right, let's take this picture.